how do you balance strength and vulnerability, strength and humility, and power? How do you balance that stuff?
Well, I love this question now, and I like how you explained it to me, because we are not meant to not be feeling. I think about it as parents.
Yeah.
Like, if I present myself to my kids that I never have doubt, I'm never wrong, I'm never sorry, I'm never sad, which is a lot of parents can do that. That doesn't make sense to them.
Destroy your children. Yes.
Right. And at the same time, if I wake up every day and feel like you're responsible for my feelings, my sadness, and everything else, and those are the two extremes. Now, most of us think the first one is actually pretty good, though. Like, kids, I'm fine. And that's not. I mean, I kind of grew up in an environment like that. My dad was like that, and I didn't understand what vulnerability was. And so I think the thing is, we have to say, hey, listen, first and foremost, I'm here to serve you. I'm your leader. I'm your parent. I'm your whatever. I'm your coach. I am here for you.
Yeah.
But I also have legitimate, valid feelings that I will share with you, because that's going to make you a better person, to understand that I'm human, and to play the role of helping me too sometimes.
That's right.
I mean, kids need to know they can support their parents.
Yeah.
Employees need to know that they can speak truth to their boss. Athletes on a team need to know that they can help their coach, whether it's in coaching or in life or whatever it is. And to deprive them of that is not a gift.
Right.
So, but the question we have to know, though, is when in doubt, it needs to lean toward the service to others. As a parent, my feelings have to be just a little less important than those of my kids. But if I try to do that for too long, they're going to pay the price for it. I've done that wrong for years.
Yeah.
I thought my job was to prevent them from suffering. And then it wound me up, and then it caused suffering for them that I didn't even know was causing them.
Yeah.
Which is hard to admit, but so many parents I talk to can relate to that.
So I got a call from somebody who I've known for years, who's, long story short, has a child who's getting in trouble with the law, and said, hey, I could get a lawyer and do this and do this and do this and maybe get them off, whatever. And I said, are you interested in solving this problem today, or are you going to help this child become a healthy adult? I said, because if you're going to help him be a healthy adult, then you say, I can't get you out of this, but I'll hold your hand in the process. And I'll go to court with you and I'll hold your hand. And when you get taken away, I will be the last to hug you. Like, that was, and then they'll do their time, and then we'll go about, you know what I mean? That to me was we're playing a long game with their kids, right? Right,
but so I can say this with fairly high confidence. The difficulty of making the right decision there is because we're caring about ourselves.
That's right, yeah.
Because if I go, so my son has to go to prison or to go to jail or go to juvenile hall or get in trouble, it can be smaller than that too. What does that say about me? That's going to be hard for me. I'd like to help them get out of this.
I'm going to be uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah. And you don't even completely realize at the time.
Yeah.
But if you can, the most selfless thing to do for them is to give them what they need, even if it doesn't give you what you need. Because I want to know that I'm being a good parent. I want to know that they're happy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going to be happier when you get them out of trouble. Thanks, Dad. That was great. And you're like, oh, yay. They're happy with me. I've just kicked that can down the street.
Yeah. And then when they're moving back in with you, or they're asking for a loan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So leaders and vulnerability. How does that work?
You know, it's one of the most important things. Like, so in the 5 dysfunctions of a team, trust is at the bottom of the pyramid. Right. I mean, you have to build trust on a team, and the leader has to go first. And you cannot build trust with another person if you are not vulnerable. And vulnerability is a powerful thing, but it has to be real. And false vulnerability is more dangerous than not having.
It's gross, man.
It is. It's just like humility is great.
Gross.
False humility is great.
Anytime somebody says, hey, watch this, you're going to cry, I'm done with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's performative. And, yeah, exactly.
Oh, so genuine vulnerability, which always is uncomfortable.
Yes.
If you're being vulnerable as a leader and you're like, no, I'm very comfortable with this.
It's not vulnerable.
That's not vulnerability.
Because vulnerable gets you killed, right? That's the whole thing. It's belly up, yeah.
Exactly. In Latin, it's liable to attack. Gosh, what is that? I can't remember the root of the word vulnerability. But the point is, every leader has to be vulnerable. But when they go too far and they're using it as therapy, that can be very dangerous too.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those maturity things. It's like parenting though. No leader is immune to this. There is no leader that never did that.
Yeah.
And there's no leader that's never probably been falsely vulnerable.
We don't have, and I'll say politically, I think that may be the single missing element, is a leader saying, I thought this and I was wrong, and so here's what I'm going to do. If somebody would do that, I think it would galvanize people in a way that you couldn't even plot on a chart and a graph.
I do not maybe it's this, John. Maybe it's the kind of person that wants that job does not have that skill or that capability, because the kind of person that would be willing to do that would never do the things you need to do to get that job. But I don't know why people just don't say, because I mean, I've done it.
Yeah, like, I have too.
Hey, I whiffed on that.
Yeah.
Most people will say, a coach that comes off the field at the end of the game goes, I made a hugely bad call there.
Yeah.
And we lost because of me. People are like, that guy's awesome.
I follow that guy. Yeah.
But somehow in politics,
it's bizarre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's bizarre.
I think they're being advised by people that, I don't know. It's such an adversarial activity. I suppose it's like a lawyer, though. I guess if you went to trial, not too many lawyers would go, hey, I said this thing yesterday. I think you should disregard it because I realized that wasn't fair. I think when you have an adversarial relationship, now, but the problem is that's why politics is not leadership. Politics is gamesmanship. And true leadership, too few politicians are really leaders. And I've met a few that are.
Yeah.
They usually don't get anywhere near the top.
Huh. Because they're not playing.
They're not playing. And if you're competing with somebody who's playing by a different set of rules and you tie one hand behind your back because you want to be that way, they're going to go, that's great, I'm just going to cut your arm.
You'll
arm
lose
off
every
quicker.
time. Yeah.
So it's an unfortunate thing. I don't know if it's always been that way. I think media makes it worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do wish that we had leaders in leadership.
Yeah, that'd be so nice. All right, what about leaders and mental health?
Well, this is the thing that's most interesting to me right now.
Yeah.
Is that so many leaders are leading from their wounds. And they don't even know that. They actually see their wounds as their strength. I mean, I did this for years. You know, I was achieving and had high standards and worked hard. And I thought, well, see, I'm a hardworking guy. And it's like, oh, no, you're terrified of failing. And that doesn't mean you can't heal those wounds and still be a great leader. In fact, you'll be a much better leader.
Right.
And so I think that mental health of the leader is critical.
How do you balance that humility with ambition? Because it feels like a teeter-totter. And what I see people is they'll be making their money, they'll be doing a good job, they'll go to their spiritual retreat and they'll be like, oh, I'm going to quit everything and go work at Whole Foods. Or you have the other side that's just pounding the pavement over and over. And there's got to be a balance between, no, go like work hard and do good things and help a lot of people. And no, it's not going to. I don't know. What's the balance there?
Well, it's so funny. I wrote an article 23 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was called The Trouble with Humility. And it's this teeter-totter. And it's like, here's how I look at it. And I don't know if this answers a question, but I just have to tell this story. Because you made me. And it's like, humility is, I think that I'm no more important than the people that I lead. Okay.
Right.
That's really important to know. You're not. You're not a more important person. But my actions are more impactful than those of the people I lead. People are watching me.
And that's truth. That's just truth.
Truth.
That's right.
And most people can't hold both of those things in mind at the same time. I worked with a guy who was a really humble leader, and I'd say, Mark, you got to get out there and talk. He'd go, why do they care what I think? And then other people that are like, hey, I got out there and I inspired people. And then it's like, I must be pretty important. I'm more important than them. So you have to break that in the middle and go, my actions actually are, that's stewardship, that's really, but I'm not that important. That's a tough thing to do, both of those.
I used to tell my staff at the universities I worked at, if I didn't come to work for 2 weeks as the senior student affairs officer, if I didn't come to work for 2 weeks, a couple of y'all would know. If the person cleaning the bathrooms doesn't come for 2 weeks, this place stops spinning, period.
Right.
Let's be real clear about who's the most important in this building right now.
Right. Now.
You can never lose that.
But as the leader, you know what was really important? That you were telling them that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was really important that you have to do both of those things.
That's right, yes.
And
then you got to live it, right? I got to make sure that we are honoring the folks that are left in the margins at that workplace, right?
Oh my gosh.
That's that, and I've got to go first. And whether I'm a parent or a dad, I did an internship with a psychologist, and I was asking him a question about, hey, how do I tell my son to respect women? And he said,
respect women.
He's like, yeah, treat your wife right. It was like, he's like, you can tell him anything you want. He's just going to watch you.
But what would be another way?
Yeah, right. Yeah, not that way. Yeah, it was a very simple.
I was with my 15-year-old just the other day. We were in a long drive, and I said, hey, you know I love Mom, right? And he was like, oh, yeah. I said, because, you know, sometimes we don't say the night. Sometimes I don't treat her the right way, and she might be unhappy with me, but you know we're in love with each other, and she's wonderful. And because, I don't know, I never heard my dad say that.
Yeah.
And I needed it.
Yeah.
And God bless him and my mom, but we have to model that.
And I think parents, we don't understand that our kids anchor everything into that sentiment.
Yeah.
Are those two people stable and safe?
Oh my
gosh. And if they are, the kids will swing off and rappel off and do wild things. And if they aren't, they will swing off and do wild things, but they'll let go. You know, they let go.
And you know, if people are listening to this and they haven't done that very well in the past, you can just do it right now and trust God that it's going to be fine.
Well, that's vulnerability, which is, you know, I had a guest on a few weeks ago, and we're talking about is vulnerability or is it humility? It almost rests on a bedrock of, as you put in the book, it's just being trustworthy, being honest, saying, I've been telling you this and I was wrong. Right. This is the right way to do this.
Or do you know how I treated Mom for a few years there?
That
was bad.
Not good. Right. And you're going to watch me do better.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know when people hear things like this, it's easy to go, oh, I didn't do that well. And it's like, no, start now. What's that old adage? What's the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Or today. Second
best is today. That's right. Yeah.